Hello and welcome to episode 22 of The Final Whistle. I'm your host, Drew Zeigler, and I'm here with Stephen Kubis. Today we're going to talk about the NBA and NHL playoffs and also a special segment about the MLB. So first up, the Heat beat the Knicks in 6 games. The Knicks, it was a good season for them, but this was obviously a disappointment. The Heat are 8 seed. They beat the 1 seed Bucks, and they're on fire right now with Jimmy Butler.
I mean, I think the Knicks just didn't have another player to step up with Jalen Brunson, especially Julius Randle. I mean, he made it seem like he didn't want to be there or play. I mean, I don't like him. I really don't like him when it comes to playoff basketball. I mean, yeah, he's the best player in the regular season, but I need him in the postseason. I mean, at least RJ stepped up. RJ had a terrible regular season, but then he stepped up when the team needed it the most because Julius couldn't do it. And I hope the Knicks really trade him and get someone worth of value because I think this offseason can lead the Knicks to a championship next year.
Yeah, Knicks fans were not happy with Julius Randle's performance in the playoffs. They ripped his poster outside the stadium, and I think that maybe he's going a little far. He's obviously a key important player to your team, but still a disappointing performance, and the Heat are on fire right now, and they might be the team to beat in the whole league right now. And now to the West. The Nuggets beat the Suns in 6 games, and now there's a lot of offseason questions for the Suns. Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to let go? And the Nuggets, they look like a great team also as the 1 seed. They keep going on. Nikola Jokic leading them away.
I mean, hey, they're proving me wrong. I said that they're really not meant for the playoffs, and they usually lose in a couple rounds. But, I'm really rooting for them. I really hope they do win this championship. I think it's really hard to stop what they got going on there. Their offense is just awesome. They just beat KD and Devin Booker, which, I mean, that duo in the playoffs is just very scary. They're putting up 30 points every game. I mean, props to them. They got Michael Porter Jr., who's outstanding too. No one really talks about him because they got Murray and Jokic, but he's a very key player for them, and I think the Nuggets have a very strong chance of winning the next series.
And the Suns let go of their coach Monty Williams, and he's a good head coaching prospect, and he could be picked up by a team like the Bucks, who also let Mike Budenholzer go. And now Chris Paul. We don't know if he's going to be a Sun next year. Will he retire? Will he play for another team? I don't know. It seems like there's a little trouble in Phoenix there. And again in the West, the Lakers beat the Warriors in 6 games, and the Lakers are playing just out of their minds right now. Just a big team effort, and obviously LeBron James and Anthony Davis leading the way for them.
They're having that Cinderella run. They made the play-in tournament barely, and then now they're fighting their way for a championship. It's always scary when you have teams with a superstar like LeBron James with players around them that aren't as well. I mean, he does have AD, but it's going to be a very tough series for them to win. I don't know who can stop Jokic. I mean, he's a beast, but I hope it's a good series, and I hope everybody plays well.
Yeah, in that final game 6, LeBron 30 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. Anthony Davis 17 points, 20 rebounds, and Austin Reeves coming up clutch with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. So it seems like the Lakers are going to have that third player around LeBron and Anthony Davis. It's a different player every game, but having that player is a key to winning, and we'll see how they do against the Nuggets in the conference finals. And now the only series that went to 7 games in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics beat the Sixers in 7 to head to the Eastern Conference finals.
I don't know what it is, man. I mean, the 76ers just can't beat the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics are very well coached. Jason Tatum obviously went from the worst game of his life, but he also was clutch in that game, to literally the best Game 7 performance, I think, in my opinion, I've ever seen. I don't know if it's all time, but it's definitely the best I've ever seen. 51 points, broke the record of Steph Curry, who had 50 this year, too. It's been a crazy playoff run here. But the 76ers just seem like they just don't – I don't feel like they aren't playing as a team, When it comes to playoff time, you need to play as a team. You can't chuck up shots like they normally do and stuff like that. I just think their players didn't really step up like James Harden as well. I think he played terrible. I think he should shave his beard and hide himself in the streets.
Yeah, he's also another question mark. Will he return to the 76ers or will he go somewhere else? And the Sixers, they got outscored in that third quarter 33-10. That's obviously not the recipe for success in playoff basketball. And Joel Embiid said, me and James can't win alone. We just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. We just need everybody to just try to keep finding ways to get better, and we'll be fine. And in that game, James Harden had 9 points, and Joel Embiid had 15 points. So I'm not really sure that's what he's talking about, and that's not what you want to hear out of your star player.
Definitely not. I mean, I hope he requests a trade and the New York Knicks maybe take him, but, you can't blame it on the other players too. I mean, you're the MVP. You got to score all the points. That's what you're supposed to do when you're MVP. But it's a little selfish of him to say that. But I get it, James Harden on his point. I mean, James Harden played terrible. He's definitely got to step up. He's known as a 3-point sniper. Like, he's got to make more shots. He's got to you just play better overall. But Joel Embiid's no need for that comment. Because when you don't, if he would have had 40 points and they would have lost, okay, the comment could be made, but it's not right. But it could have been made. But 15 points ain't gonna do it for that comment, in my opinion.
Now we got a bubble rematch in the conference finals after 2020. Everybody said it was a fraudulent year, but obviously not. The Nuggets will match up with the Lakers, and the Celtics will match up with the Heat, and we'll see what happens and who will go to the finals. And now we're going to take a short break, and James will join me to talk about the NHL playoffs. So now James has joined me, and the NHL playoffs has been really fun to watch. Obviously, anything can happen in the NHL playoffs. It's not really like the NBA. And first, in the Eastern Conference, the Devils fought the Hurricanes in 5 games. The Hurricanes, I think they're similar to a team like the Nuggets, who we just talked about. They don't really have much success in the playoffs recently, but they have a lot of success in the regular season, and that seems to be changing for both of those teams this year.
Yeah, I think the Hurricanes, really proved, at least me, something. I mean, I thought the Devils were going to be a big matchup, maybe make the Hurricanes struggle. But, I mean, they dominated them. In all the games they won, they dominated them. And I think for the Devils, with the bright future, they also have to realize, they got some key pending free agents. So, guys like Timo Meyer, they're going to need to re-sign him. But, I mean, the Hurricanes, they're just rolling right now. And they're proving a lot to me. I didn't expect them to – maybe making the Eastern Conference Finals wouldn't be that big of a shock. But the way they did it, just dominating the Devils in 5, that – I'm surprised.
Yeah, Devils, as you said, very bright future. But Timo Meyer, they traded for a guy like him. And that's when you trade for a guy like him, you're going for the cup. And it was still a very successful season, but to lose in 5 games is obviously not a great thing to happen. And still in the Eastern Conference, just another huge upset. The Panthers upset the Maple Leafs to win the series in 5 games. It was just not even a good series. The Panthers were controlling every game, it seemed like.
Yeah, I don't think Toronto fans want Florida anymore. I mean, the Panthers, first 3 games, they just dominated the Leafs. And I don't think any even after they upsetted the Bruins, I don't think anybody expected the Panthers to really dominate the Leafs. I mean, they just won their first playoff series in 19 years. You'd think, they're excited, confident, and then the Panthers just dominate. I mean, I think Bobrovsky was a huge reason why. I mean, he was phenomenal all series. And, I mean, I'm just very surprised. I think the Panthers, just like the Heat, same thing. I don't know about the Florida teams, but, the last seed, has a chance to make it all the way to the finals. And I think they are. I think if I had to choose right now, I think I'd favor the Panthers over the Hurricanes right now, just by the way they're playing.
I wouldn't go that far, but you see it with these goalies, these experienced goalies in the playoffs. Sergei Bobrovsky allowed 2 goals a game and had a 94 save percentage. We saw it a few years back with Marc-Andre Fleury on the Golden Knights, and I think this could be similar to that. And the Maple Leafs offense was held down. Austin Matthews, 2 points. Mitch Marner, 3 points, and that's just your 2 star players. Obviously not John Tavares. Also, he had an all right series, but not good enough to overtake the Panthers. And over to the West, the Oilers fought to the Knights in 6 games. Disappointing yet again for the Oilers. They got 2, you could argue, the 2 best players in the whole league, and they can't get past the second round.
Yeah, I mean, it's really frustrating to watch. I mean, you always want, one of the best players in the league, even the 2 best players in the league, to have some postseason success. You usually see, it's sort of like Mike Trout in baseball, where they just don't have postseason success, and it's just frustrating as a fan. I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl are 2 of the best players in the league, and it's like it really shows that you need a complete team to make a deep run in the playoffs. You can't just be top heavy on the first line. And I mean, congrats to the Knights. I mean, they played well. They really shut down Draisaitl after the first 2 games, which they needed to do. It's pretty tough to stop McDavid. It's kind of a given that he's going to go off every game, but to stop Draisaitl, that was definitely the key for their victory.
Yeah, this was a very exciting series. A lot of scoring, not a lot of defense, and Jonathan Marchessault had 2 hat tricks in this series, and he led the Knights to win in the 6 games. And that was just a great series for them, and they seem to be such a great team in the playoffs, and that'll continue. And now the Stars beat the Kraken in the only series that went to 7 games. Kraken, just what a season for them. They did great in the playoffs without like a really star player. and the Stars overtake them, but that was expected, and I think the Kraken have a very bright future ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, only their second year and making it almost to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, that's definitely a successful season. They got a bright future, but I think what's more impressive is how Jake Ottinger just, after a terrible Game 6, came back with a great Game 7. I think he has like one loss this season after a game after a loss. I mean, the way he just bounces back, that's so important, especially for a goalie. A goalie is very mental game. If you can't fold after one bad game, especially in the playoffs. And for Ottinger to come back, give up one goal in like the last minute, pretty much had a shutout. I mean, that's just huge for the Stars.
I saw another stat. Stars head coach Peter DeBoer 7-0 in Game 7 games, and that's the recipe for success in hockey and any sport. And that'll obviously help, as the Stars made it to the Stanley Cup in a recent year against the Lightning, but they failed to win it. And we'll see if they can change that this year and make it past the Western Conference Finals and make it all the way to Stanley Cup and win it all. So now we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Steven will join us back, and we'll talk about the Mets' struggles this year in the MLB. So now we're back, and we're all Mets fans here, and it's just been a really disappointing season. I hate even to talk about it, but I think it's something we have to talk about, and let me hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think what's most surprising is how bad they are against such bad quality of teams. They had a series against like the Tigers, the Nationals, and like other teams. They just lost all of them. I think the pitching is really disappointing. The hitting's really bad. I think everything's bad. And I think, if I'm not saying the Mets are going to miss the playoffs, but if they do miss the playoffs, it'd be like the biggest failure in like North American sports. And I don't even think that's like a big exaggeration at all.
I mean, I think it's the starting pitching. It's not. They're doing terrible, honestly. The Mets, they don't have a young, fresh guy they can just throw out like every game and expect to win. I mean, maybe Justin Verlander, because he's pitching I think he's pitching pretty good. Maybe he's the guy that will get us like a guaranteed win. But it's like Scherzer, it sucks. Like, get him out of here. Like, trade him away. I don't care. Trade him for prospects. He sucks. Like, he's just a waste of an arm, to be honest. But at least Kodai is doing pretty good. He has a winning record, really good winning record. And it just seems like the Mets just like have an on and off day. Like, it seems like one day they flip the switch and suddenly you put 8 runs in the 5th inning against the Nationals, then you come back the next day and you get pounded like 10-2. It's like just so inconsistent. And you really can't explain why. I mean, starting Marte also isn't doing well. Last year is a key reason why we did well. And I think a bunch of Mets players just really need to step up. I mean, you can't really blame it on Buck. Like, what is it? The manager? He's doing his job. It's just the players aren't performing like we should be, because our lineup is stacked. Everybody thinks that. I mean, our bullpen is also really good. David Pearson, way to step up. I mean, he's been the man.
It's been very lackadaisical. Seems like everybody on the field, nobody's really into it. We're not getting into a groove, hitting or pitching. And obviously, like you said, get more consistent. We were a playoff team last year. It was still disappointing last year. And it seems like they've never recovered from that. And I don't know exactly what it is. Seems like everything's a problem now. But I think the only thing to do is, it can't hurt, call up Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio. If we're a bad team, you might as well have them get some experience in the major leagues.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think another reason why they've been struggling so much is because I feel like they always give up the first run, especially in the first inning. It's really hard to play when you're down, and like I think they gave up like at one point like 11 straight first inning runs or something like that. They've like their opponent has given up has scored the first run in like 13 straight games. It's just hard to play when you're behind like every single day. And I think that's also a big reason why they can't win consistently, is because they're always down. It's just very frustrating. I think last year the Mets were really good in the first inning. I think they had like one of the lower ERAs in the first inning. I think they scored a lot in the first inning. I think just the complete opposite this year. And I think that is the reason why they're struggling so much.
I mean, I think the Mets should. I agree with you. I think they should call up our prospects, get experience. But you also got to realize they're 20-22. It's not bad at all. They're 6.5 games behind the Braves. I mean, you can really turn the season around like at any moment. You're 2 games under 500. We seen that the Braves last year. Braves didn't start off good, and then look at it, they ended up pretty good, even though they lost to the Phillies. But same thing with the Phillies too. They had a rough entire time. I'm hoping the Mets just turn it around soon. I don't care if they keep losing games, but if we can play like amazing, we'll find our ways to get in the playoffs and start winning, maybe even win the division. But you got to take it like a step at a time. You can't just jump from 20-22 to 5-game winning streak. It's got to be one at a time and get that feeling back.
And I think something that's very worrisome, the Mets have absolutely no pitching prospects, and our 2 best pitchers are both around 40 years old, and they're not going to be here for a while. And I think that's just not something that's great for the team and for the future. But I think one thing that is bright, we have our owner Steve Cohen. He's not going to let this happen like Wilpon did, and he's going to do something about it. And I don't think this will last long. I just don't know what it is that will make it better and make us a better team like we were last year, winning 100+ games. So that's going to do it for us on this week's episode, and we'll see you next week.